President of Baseball Operations for the Seattle Mariners. Jerry Dipoto is on the line. What's going on, Jerry? Good morning. Thanks for the time. Jim Duquette and Jim Bowden.
Jerry, you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I got you now,
Okay,
Jerry.
we got you.
First of all, I know you're up there in Cooperstown today for the Hall of Fame, and I want to get to that in a minute because of Ichiro, of course. But, Jerry, first of all, congratulations. To be able to sit there and trade for the biggest need this team had and to do it a week before the deadline and grab a guy that a year ago hit 30, drove in 100 for Cleveland, helped Cleveland get to the ALCS, I felt like that was the missing piece that you guys had. I now believe strongly that this is a team that can get to the World Series right here, right now. Take us through how this deal came about, how quickly it was done, when you found out Arizona was going to be sellers, and how you were able to close it so quickly.
There's a lot to unpack there, but this kind of goes back to last off season. And, when Josh was still with Cleveland, we had inquired with the tribe about bringing him over here. And obviously we didn't do it at that time. And he wound up headed to Arizona. And we've stayed in touch with the Diamondbacks throughout, wondering which direction they might go. And truly until Thursday morning, we didn't have any kind of clarity. And we had talked to them about a number of different trade mechanics and how it might look. And ultimately on Thursday, in about an hour, we went from 0 to 60, and we were able to finish a deal pretty quickly.
Wow, that went fast for sure. Take us through, if you would. It's really, as JB mentioned, really almost perfect fit. Like, it really is a really good fit. But as you kind of see the lineup, where do you expect him to be hitting? And then based on your conversations with Dan and then is it all first base? Is it a combination of first base DH? Like, how do you look at him in the field?
So I would say, these first couple of days, he's hitting fourth for us, and it's a really good spot. We've got Julio in the 2-hole, and Julio's starting to really trend, and he's getting hot, which is, this time of year is generally what Julio does. And Cal Raleigh's having the year of his life, and we're all along for the ride, and he's hitting third. And previously we had Randy Arozarena in the 4-hole, and then we would get into this pocket of lefty hitters. And dropping Josh in the 4-hole and then bumping Randy to 5, who's also having a great year, it allowed us to break up the left-hand bats and have a couple of lefties and switches spread through the lineup and made us less susceptible to a left-hand reliever just blowing through us, which is weird to say by acquiring another left-hand hitter. But this one is a left-hand hitter who can hit square in the middle.
Yeah, not only square in the middle, though. I was making the point that it's square in the middle in October, too, right? And that's what I want. You need a hitter that's going to hit the playoff pitching, right? And Naylor does that. And look, Arozarena's having an unbelievable stretch here. We always knew he was capable of doing, but now we're seeing it. Like, now it's here. Like, I feel like every night he's homering for you. Cal Raleigh right now is the MVP of the league. The injury to Aaron Judge may just give him that 40 home runs and an elite framer. Like, all the pieces are there. J-Rod always has a great second half, as you mentioned. And then you've got all 5 starters finally healthy, right? You had to deal with injuries to start the year, right? You lost two of your key starters to get that. But now, over the last month, that is really stabilized. You got an impact closer at the back end. I mean, this is exciting stuff, Jerry. And to me, the most important thing for a GM or president is to stand up and make the big move in the middle of a pennant race when it's needed the most. Like, that is the most important job of why you get paid, I think. And you just did that. Now I got to ask you, are you done?
No, that's not the plan. We do have other things we'd like to add. Areas would like to beef up. And I do think you hit on it early, being able to acquire Josh a week out from the trade deadline allows us to let it come to us a little bit. And, we were very aggressive in our initial vetting and we got after it pretty good and hammering the phone calls with the various clubs we thought fit for us. And we found a perfect fit for first base and in the middle of the lineup. And we do have some other areas would like to address, not the least of which is like every other team in the postseason hunt would like to add to that bullpen.
Yeah, for sure. Give us a sense, if you would, Jerry. Phone calls obviously are going out and coming in, but there's been a couple of GMs that have said they expected it to get really busy after today. Is that your sense, like in the moment, or you think there's some things that maybe you could even do today?
I think today's generally going to be a quiet day, but, we had multiple conversations with clubs that generally, and this is maybe midweek last week, this isn't going anywhere. We won't do anything without talking to you. Let's reconnect on Monday. So I do suspect that starting tomorrow, it's going to get very interesting. And hopefully we're able to seamlessly travel out of Cooperstown so it doesn't catch us. But the next couple of days are fun. And like Jim said, this is kind of why we do our jobs is the excitement. This is when you feel like you can make, an impact and really help the team in real time and then just get out of their way and watch them play.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes a couple of years to get it right? I mean, so last year's moves you made significant for this year, and now you make this huge move. You'd always talked about one of the infield corners, first or third base, and there was a lot of talk about Eugenio Suarez as well, which makes sense. The thing I like about Naylor is you didn't have to give up you gave up talent, I get it, right? But you didn't have to give up any of your top prospects to be able to land him. And then, I was asked, I don't know how to answer, right, because I can't sit there and ask you on the record, but I was asked the question about, okay, would they go get Suarez now? And I'm like, I don't think they need to, because you got the plus defender at third base in Williamson, right? And now I think your lineup is good enough to score runs. And so when you're trying to balance offense, defense, not that you wouldn't want another, 40 home run bat, don't get me wrong, but, I kind of felt like your next thing would probably be the bullpen, as you just mentioned, just keep adding to the pitching. Is that accurate? Or if you had an opportunity to upgrade at third base with an impact bat, are you still open to that?
No, I think we're open any way we can get better. And, third base, I will say this, Ben Williamson, it's not a whole lot of minor league time before he was run into the big leagues. We had a weird set of circumstances, and he's been exactly what we could have hoped him to be. And here we are, we're in July, and we're in a pennant race, and I think most days you want them to hit Ben Williamson, the ball for the last out of the game. He's just been that good defensively. And he's sitting at the bottom of the lineup. He chips in and gives you a gritty at bat, and it's not a light stick. He just hasn't really tapped into his power yet. And but he's 24 years old. We think there's a ton of time for him to contribute. We don't want to rob him of his opportunities, but if there's a way we can get better and put a more impactful team on the field, we have to at least be aware of what that is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Starting rotations, you guys are back healthy. Obviously, Miller's still on the injured list. What are you expecting, for him? Like, what's his status at the moment?
So Bryce threw a 2-inning live session on Friday, and he's built up to about 40 pitches. His fastball is back in the mid, touching 97, and he's going to now be on a normal 5-6 day rehab schedule to build him up. If all goes well, we should have him back in our rotation no later than the middle of August, which would be for another couple of weeks. And that'd be a pretty exciting addition for us. And the guys that we have, Logan Evans has done a remarkable job as a rookie of holding the fort at the back end, and Woo's having an all-star season. George and Logan have really kind of started to round back into form, and Luis Castillo's just been steady Eddie. He just churns out the innings and gives you a chance to win more often than not. And I love our rotation. I think we have impact at the back of our bullpen, and our lineup now is as long as it's been. And I actually spent some time last night with Pat Gillick, and I said I don't think it's aggressive to say our lineup is about as long as it's been since he was here doing my job. It's taken us a while.
Amen. I mean, it's good enough to run the tail. That's why the third base situation is interesting, because I think the defense is so important, because you get to the postseason, it's pitching and defense, right? I mean, you got to score enough runs, but pitching and defense is usually the team that's popping the champagne in October. I look at the last 30 days, right? Luis Castillo's ERA is 2.1. George Kirby's is 3.3. Brian Wu is 2.3. Logan Gilbert is 2.0. And as you mentioned with Logan Evans, 4.1. Like that's 5 starters with Bryce Miller coming back. I mean, that's just amazing to me. And the lineup is good, but you don't talk enough about your defense. I mean, this is a really good defensive team, besides being now a lengthy lineup, which is special. So I look at it, I keep going bullpen. Let's just grab because we all watch October now. You got to have that bullpen. You just do. So is it fair to say that's the focus right now? And by the way, your farm system's loaded, and your owner's willing to spend some money. I mean, you are equipped to make another bang Dipoto move.
Yeah, this is one of our favorite times of year. When we put ourselves in good position, we've always been given the ability to go out and do the fun thing at the deadline, and that's the Rock in 22 and Randy Rosarena and friends last year. Obviously, Josh so far, and we are dialed on the bullpen, and that makes us like just about everybody else who's trying to get to the finish line. But it's the bullpen, as they are the late movers, and somewhere in the last day or two, and maybe in the last hour or two, you'll start seeing some of the higher impact bullpen guys go off the board, and we will be as aggressive in that area of the market as just about anybody, I would imagine.
God, I love that quote. We're going to have to use that like all our promos. Hey, I need to ask you about Ichiro Suzuki. This is a special day, and it's a special talent. And, I always loved watching him just because in BP, he would show you that he had 40 home run power, right? But he just, he wanted to be a hitter, right? Not a power hitter, which who knows what he could have done if he wanted to just be a power hitter. But talk to me about your relationship with him, what you witnessed in his career, the great sense of humor he has, your anticipation of the speech. Like, break down Ichiro for all of us.
The speech, and I said to him last night, and we had obviously a celebratory dinner party for Ichiro and his family, and just celebrating his election. But unbelievably disciplined human being in everything he does, and I remember clearly the moment that stands out for me with Ichiro, outside of meeting him, actually the day I met him, we signed him in spring training to come back to the Mariners for part 2, which wound up being, the swan song in his career. And it was a storybook finish up in Japan and retiring on opening day. It's just a phenomenal story. But I had never met Ichiro, and, we had set up a press conference when we signed him in spring training. And he passed along through his agent, John Boggs, who you guys know, a great guy. And Boggs, he said, hey, Ichi wants to do something casual, maybe slacks, golf shirt, simple. He might even wear a uniform. I said, okay, great. And so I get to the office that day, and there's 150 members of the Japanese media in spring training for a Peoria press conference. And my first reaction when I drove up was, geez. And I'd never met Ichi, and he comes walking up the back steps to my office, and he's wearing about a $20,000 suit, and his hair's jet black and slicked back. The sunglasses. I'm gonna gauge we're about in the 5K range, and I looked at him, and my initial intro to him is I backhanded him in the chest, and I said, I thought we were going casual, and he said, Jerry, this is casual. But unbelievable, unique talent, just a great guy.
Oh, that's a good story. I love that one. Hey, I know you're up there in Cooperstown. By the way, it's amazing you have great cell phone coverage because hardly anyone ever does up there, so that's impressive itself. But what else stands out for you today with this ceremony? There's so many current guys that came while you're in the front office, while we're in the front office that are going in. But is there one in particular besides Ichiro that you're excited to listen to his speech?
Sadly, I was really looking forward to hearing Dave Parker because, just where I am on the age curve. When we were growing up, Dave Parker, for that 5, 6, 8 year stretch with the Pirates was as five-tool a player as you could possibly get. And I know how long a wait he'd had, but sadly we won't be able to listen to him. I look forward to hearing CeCe. I think CeCe is a remarkable person who has a great story to tell, and I'm sure his speech is going to be pretty riveting because of that. Last night in the plaque room, which is, I pinch myself every time I get the opportunity. You're in baseball, heaven, and you're getting the back door into the plaque room and getting to hobnob with the greatest living players. It's just a remarkable scene, and I truly try to remember every time how fortunate I am that you get invited into those spaces.
Yeah, no question about it.
Yeah,
it's a very
cool
special
moment.
room, and only the elite of the elite get to be there. Jerry, of all the years that you've been sitting in that GM chair from the Angels to the Mariners, it's been a minute now. Is this the best baseball team you have ever assembled in your career?
I think so. Just on 1 through 26, we had a pretty awesome team with the Halos back in 2014. We had a 98 win season, won the West. We had superstars and deep rotation. But this team, I think, it's just deep. Our bullpen keeps coming. At the guys that are coming out to throw the middle innings down 3 are showing you 3 pitches in high 90s, and I feel like the combination of defense, team speed, up and down the lineup, our contact has really improved, and we've always been relatively patient. And I think sneakily, we hit homers. I every time we have a 2, 3, 4 homer game, I look at Dan Wilson and I give him a thumbs up and I say, "Little things, bro." Just hit it over the fence. And I think our rotation, when we're healthy, we are as good as anybody in the league. And I hope we're able to do the things this year that our talent suggests we can, because I know the character of the guys in the room is. I love this team. I love our energy. They love playing together. Our staff is awesome, and I couldn't be more excited for the next, what I hope are 70-some games.